Hello, today I'm going to talk about the signpost of our higher self or the soul. So what is the content? The first thing is the origin of our signpost, from where it is originating. Then a few types of signpost, how it is revealed to us. Then we have some disturbances in our signpost, why it is sometimes disturbed simply. And for the last, I have some examples of dilemmas, of life dilemmas, how to decide more easily. So let's go step by step. The origin of our signpost. We hear a lot about inspiration, but what inspiration really is? We hear a lot about intuition and so on, sixth sense. Well, between the human being and the self is a very important link, which can be also pointed as the channel, symbolic as the channel, some form of connection between the higher self and us as a human being. The channel represents a connection through which is flowing the information from our higher self to the mental emotional body first. And this flow includes also our inspiration, because it includes many other things. You hear probably of channeling, which the flow is very complicated. It includes a lot of information. So we have a higher self, the soul. We have a human being, which is composed from the mental emotional body, the etheric body, and the physical body. In between is this backup level between the higher self and the human being. And then you have the channel, no? The information that is flowing plus the life force. But this flow information that is flowing through us to us is going through the backup level. No? If the backup level is very abstracted, we have a lot of clutter, then this information is filtered, sometimes even stopped. A few types of signposts first. How is this information revealed to us? So the self is transmitting to us various information in order to help us through the journey of life, but the information can appear in a variety of forms. First, as an intuitive response to a particular situation, just some kind of intuitive response. We call it sometimes a subconscious. Well, I can say in this way, everything that we say or do it is coming from our higher self, but it goes through the backup level. And if you have much clutter, poor beliefs and definitions, then the things that you say or do can be very, let's say, bad. And if you're having good beliefs and definitions, then the things that you do and say can be in a completely different way, very good for society. So this first thing, we can have as an intuitive response to a particular situation, this signpost. Then can be a sixth sense, you feel something that is coming. It can be also a simple knownness about something. You simply know that this is so and not so. Next, you can have an encouraging inner voice. Yes, you can hear the voices of your higher self and other guides. Then you can have an excellent idea, simply an idea to do something, just straight from the sky, you can say. Then you can have the right word at the right time. You simply say something and then you're surprised over what you have said. You can have also a vision. This is also coming from the higher self, but it goes through the backup level and it is revealed in our mind, this vision. It can be an approximation, or even if you have too much poor beliefs and definitions, it can be completely distorted, this vision. So, but most often is this signpost revealed as inspiration or good excitement over something that we love doing, most form in some hobby that we have that we love doing something. This is the best, let's say, approximation of our higher self in this physical reality. So all the listed points represent a kind of signpost when our higher self is guiding us to the most appropriate future. It is basically that at which we often say, I followed my heart. All of this I include, I followed my heart. Yes. Further, like I said, now I'm going to mention some disturbances in our signposts, why it is distorted. Of course, in life you'll often come to situations with dilemmas about how to proceed on. And when we find ourselves in such dilemmas, we always choose the option at which we feel the signpost of our higher self, most often in the form of an encouraging inner voice, intuition, or vision. However, the signpost is often disturbed by the backup level, specifically of the unconscious, which means that it is sometimes difficult to recognize what we have to do at a given moment. For example, if you have many negative beliefs and definitions in the unconscious because they quickly arouse fears and even inner resistances. About this uh, spoken in the lecture about our alignment. Further, if you have a huge fear or negative expectation, then we need to find the negative belief or definition in our conscious that is making our journey difficult. Most often it goes for the belief that we are not good enough or that we don't deserve something. Further, well, we can discover our negative beliefs or definitions in such a way that we, in visualizations, potentiate our fear in relation to what is hindering us. Uh, and this uh, and this so that we set up the worst possible scenario. As such scenario will be how associated with the belief or definition that is good to leave behind. For example, I desire to be a lecturer, but I have some kind of fear. And so I potentiated this fear in my visualization, and I came to uh, this poor belief definition, vision, that I'm going to be stoned. Because sometimes in our history there is stoned people, and even now I think in some regions of the world. So I have to reprogram myself. I had to reprogram myself. Further, but we can also simply ask ourselves, what would I have to believe that I wouldn't be able to make a step forward, or what would I have to believe that I would be feeling like I am now. In fact, the received answer will directly point to the belief or definition that is good to leave behind. You don't know how to decide. You feel bad. Ask about this question: what would I have to believe that I wouldn't be able to make a step forward? Because the answer points to the belief and definition that is good to the program. It can be many definitions. Uh, do this a few days in a row. Ask yourself, and you can get a question, an answer. You can also ask. What would I have to believe that what would I have to believe that I would be feeling like I am now? For example, my girl left me, so I'm alone and I'm suffering, and I ask this question, and the answer can reveal that there is no other girl in the world that would satisfy me. But this is not a fact; it's a belief, a poor belief. Mostly it goes for poor beliefs and definitions, so you have to reprogram yourself. And when you reprogram yourself, then you are radiating a different energy. So these are disturbances in our signposts, poor beliefs and definitions that arouse also negative, like I said, negative thoughts, emotions, fears, and inner resistances. Eventually, when you're going to clear your unconscious clutter, the more easier you're going to follow your aspiration. And also, the more you're following your aspiration, the more of inspiration is coming through the channel. And of course, the more you are following the aspiration, thus the higher self, the sooner you are going to live a life full of contentment, inner peace, and bliss, happiness, and so on, these good things. Because then when you clean your clutter, the flow is much faster. You easier follow inspiration. You have a more clear mind. You do things faster, um, and you are more in peace and happiness. Further, okay, now they follow some examples of dilemmas, of life dilemmas, such difficult situations when you do not know how to decide. So, the first example, I was following my aspiration, thus the higher self, but I have nevertheless got into trouble. Is that even possible that we follow our heart, to say, so to speak, and we run into troubles? Here's the explanation. Well, even though you follow your inspiration, excitement, you can still get into troubles. Have you wondered why? Well, all the troubles are not troubles or problems, but challenges that make us closer to our higher self. We all know situations For example, when someone said a preventative advice or an opinion about our dilemma situation, but we have nevertheless decided entirely by our head and run into troubles. Our head. We listen to our heart, inspiration, intuition. In this case, we didn't use their advice or opinion, but we instead listen to our inspiration, excitement, and nevertheless run into a trouble, isn't it? Why? Because behind this is standing a broader picture that is blurring the boundaries between what is right and what is not. In fact, realize that the intentions of ourselves, of our higher selves, are to experience all sorts of situations, even suffering. In fact, the selves intend to experience such and such challenges because they contribute to the advancement of of ourselves as a human being, as in the higher self, as a couple, this pair. This means that we should aspire for challenges because in so we become closer to our higher self, and there is really more peace, inner bliss, excitement, and these good things. Actually, the following of our higher self is going to ensure the manifestation of the best living condition for us, like I said in the lecture about our alignment. Further, the next dilemma or a question that you can have, might have. I've fallen into a trouble and I'm wondering whether I'm suffering a destined or just a potential suffering. Is there anything like that? Realize that we have so the destined as only the potential suffering. The potential suffering, I also am pointing it as additional or unnecessary suffering. Well, how can we distinguish between these two sufferings? Somehow so. Uh, when it comes to destined suffering, then we often do not know what to do at a certain dilemma. We simply do not know how to decide, who to listen to, what to choose, and we simply suffer, often in some kind of unhealthy apathy. While at this additional suffering, we often already intuitively know what to do, but we cannot take the decisive step because of our fear. It's a completely different situation. We know what to do, we feel what to do, other people are pointing to us what to do, but we have fear and inner resistance. So, to minimize your unnecessary suffering, always follow your higher self. If you are in a life dilemma, then listen to your inner voice that will be the strongest in the silence of your mind, in meditation, for example. Before meditation, place your intention for a life dilemma, and the answer will sooner or later wells up. Well, maybe not exactly today, perhaps tomorrow or the days after tomorrow. The question can be also placed before bedtime, and the dreams may reveal the answer in the form of a hint. Yes, can happen. Um, And when the answer will come, will the answer persist in your depth as long as you won't take the decision to proceed forward? It is something on that. It's not. It's it's not an irrelevant answer. However, if no response, then you must likely have to experience a destined suffering that will transform you into a new person. Because suffering is degrading our ego. Ego, I call it this rebellious ego. I rarely use this term ego, this personality or character, but in simple words, ego, I split it into this good ego, our personality, our pluses, and this rebellious ego that makes us suffer. So, and this suffering is actually degrading our poor beliefs and definitions, this rebellious ego, so that it comes to the fore this devoted ego. That is very good. In all dilemmas, also learn that it is certainly good to listen to the advice of other people, but it's necessary to filter them. Therefore, to evaluate with your inspiration and discover whether they are true for you or not. In other words, in the decisions that are relating strictly to your own life, be as much as possible uncompromising. So, if it is go for a simple decision to follow some new hobby, to decide for a new hobby that is strictly related only to you, vice versa can be a decision to be a politician that you're because then you're influencing much people. So when it goes for simple decision that relate to least possible people, then be as much as possible compromising by your heart. Okay. Further, the next dilemma. I'm wondering if any efforts are needed for my inspiring desires. This is a frequent question. I mean, psychological efforts. In the following of inspiration and excitement, I realized that it's not necessary to psychologically strive for our inspirational desires, since everything has already been given to you in the beginning before you came here from Source or God, which is unconditional love. So before you came here, you chose something, you had chosen something, and it was it was all given to you. But now you don't know this, and so you strive. Because why? Because you were raised so. So people strive for success, for financial safety, but it can be already destined for them. This, in other words, for the inspiring intentions is required the smallest psychological effort, if any at all. While the main causes for your current psychological efforts were primarily the deadlines and expectations on which you have agreed by yourself. From your, why? From your heavy beliefs, poor beliefs and definitions, especially imposed by the modern society, which have aroused fears and inner resistances that it couldn't be otherwise. So you are raised up. For example, you have a deadline in your job, but nobody put you, nobody had put you a gun on in your head to do this job. So it was your decision to take this job, to be hired, and also to take some project in this job. It's up to you. Okay. Uh, okay, I mean this here psychological efforts, no? Suffering, but we also have physical efforts. This is normal. If you want to have a body full of muscles, then of course there is effort, physical effort. But psychological, it can be minimum. It's minimum if you love this fitness. Yes. Actually, you have excitement and happiness if you are doing this with others. It's a completely different thing. It's just basically this physical effort. Or if you are in your garden doing something. Hmm. Next dilemma. I'm not clear whether I'm having an inspired desire or just a kind of wanting. This difference. I've spoken about this. I've spoken about this. Yes. Let me repeat. Um, Okay, I read. This is a common issue, but if you already know that wanting exists too, then you are already at the point that you can also clarify your picture. Then we must sincerely ask ourselves, is something my true desire? So, we have to ask ourselves whether we really desire a certain thing or a vision that we are having, or maybe we have only a wanting or a craving, yearning that is imposed by society, and we have taken and saved it in our unconscious in the form of a clutter in this backup level. In fact, the wantings are coming from the unconscious clutter, while the desiring, like I call it, from the self alone. What I call desire is mostly a vision that you see into the future that will manifest because it's destined to you. And when you know that it's destined, and then you're not having any deadlines where to manifest this because it's destined, then it's not a wanting and suffering. It's just the subtle desire that you're not suffering, so that you're not suffering. Every desire can transform into wanting and suffering. For example, you can have a vision that is really something that is going to manifest, but you want to be manifested right now or the day after. This is suffering. Or you can get a precise timing when it's going to manifest, but you have a distorted vision. So uh, it's good to be flexible, open, because this mind is limited, no? Especially when you have are having poor beliefs and definitions, your mind is blurry. So, for example, what regards myself, I've been, like many others from my childhood, programmed in such a way that I need a woman in order to be happy. So I had the wanting I want a woman, and not the sincere desire I desire a woman. I had much suffering, even suicidal thoughts, and more. But of course, at that time, I wasn't so high in awareness so that it wasn't clear to me. It was a chaos in my mind. However, even though we have a wanting, we can still manifest sometimes the wanted and discover what we truly desire. Because sometimes the wantings uh, correspond to the desires. Just that we want to have it the day, soon as possible. And so you can also manifest this, yes. Maybe it can go just for a potential future. Mhm. Here I advise you to check your desire or wanting in your visualizations. If some excitement or inspiration really arises, if some tears arises, then it's something onto that. You can also simply ask for the answer before bedtime, and the dreams may reveal you a hint. If it is really something on the vision that you are having, you can have some this message telepathic dreams, like some ardent bullet points on a piece of paper. Mhm. Further, by raising your awareness, you will also realize that you are going to have less and less wantings, cravings, and yearnings, as they are going to prevail simple preferences or interests over this or that in the here and now. Simple things what to do in the here and now, not what will manifest. What you feeling right now, this is a signpost that you can have. For example, now I'm deciding to when when I will finish this lecture, I have some decisions to do to make. Whether to visit a friend, to go meditate, to go in my garden, to see I don't know, and my neighbor, and so I simply choose something, and I'm repeating this day by day, hour by hour, not some things very into the future. Very simple things, short-term plans. Further, the next example of dilemma. I've come across a dilemma where I found the choices to be equivalent by inspiration, by signposts. How should I decide? They seem equal, this or this. I have only two things to choose, for example, that I like, but they are the same for me. What to choose? The same by inspiration. So, in certain dilemmas, it also happens that you don't know how to decide. All possibilities seem, according to your inspiration and excitement, equal to you. So, how do you decide then? Well, whether it goes for a lifelong decision or a simple decision about whether to go on a walk, meditation, or visit a friend, it is such a dilemma telling you that your higher self has, from the earthly perspective, encountered a situation that requires just further researching. So, how do you decide then? Well, in the case of equivalent options, just simply choose the one that is the most accessible or reachable to you, to which you can come without too much physical or psychic effort, without too much money needs, without too much complications, demands, bureaucracy, paperwork, etc. Yes, it's that simple, because our minds are those that want to complicate, not our higher self. So just simply choose something. If it goes for two things that have the same inspiration, excitement, that you have the same inspiration, excitement over them. Further, still in this dilemma, the way to realize what you really love or what is the best decision for you, it is also born by experiencing the other side, by experiencing of what is not very close to you, of what is unknown or incomprehensible to you, as contrast or contradictions very quickly clarify our picture. Yes, it can go for such situation. Then even what is a mistake? Well, let's say you did some mistake, you choose something, and then you realized that the previous decision was better. Because so this mistake has arise some contrast, so that you came into awareness that the decision before was better. So we need contrast in this life. This is a life of contrast, and the more contrast we are having, the more simple it is to decide. Mhm. Well, but sometimes we clarify our pictures simply by by leaving something, which will reinforce your belief that the previous decision was better. You can also, for some time, leave your hobby at the side, and then, for let's say for a month, then you can come to awareness that it was really an important hobby for you. This is another thing how to clarify your picture. Put it aside for a moment, for some days or weeks, and then you can come to a conclusion that it is really something on that. Next dilemma. In a dilemma with someone, I have an intuition or a good excitement to lie to him. Is that okay? Many are thinking and burdening with what is right and what is not to say, with what is better and worse, and how would be our decision taken by surroundings. Well, the speculations about what is right to say and what is not, or about what is moral or immoral, is a never ending story. However, the decision is very simple. Listen to your higher self, listen to your inner voice, this your signpost, listen to your signpost, even if it says that you should lie. In fact, everything happens with purpose, with reason, and sometimes lying helps more a friend than the truth. But in general, this is a mutual learning between you and your friend, for example, which means that lying is with your further progress disappearing. Yes, lying is disappearing when you're going higher in awareness. But everything has purpose. So, uh, I can tell you my example. I liked a certain person, but which was my friend and a friend of my best friend. And this friend had said to me that she kissed this girl, this friend, that she kissed this girl, no? And I was very jealous. And I came into awareness that, no, firstly, I asked this girl if this is true, what he said. And the girl said that said that, that he is lying. And so I was very down, no? And what did I do then? Well, firstly, I came to a conclusion that I don't want to experience this suffering, this attachment to the girl, and also I want to forgive this person. This is my best friend. So after all these troubles, we became again all friends. I forgive myself and others, him. So with this lying, when my best friends lied to me, I came to the conclusion. I learned something. I learned that I learned forgiveness. I learned forgiveness, and also that more importantly, that it's not so important if people are lying to me. This doesn't matter. The important thing is that I'm feeling the best possible mood, the best possible state of being. Even all people are lying to me, I want to be in inner peace and bliss and happiness. And so, yes, you can come to that. You can come to that. That you don't, you're not burning with what other people are thinking of you if they are lying to you, and also if you can to forgiveness, that you forgive yourself and others, people they're going to lie less and less to you. You you're not going to meet such people anymore, very rarely. So, okay, next dilemma. Yeah, this is troublesome. I came across a dilemma where I have many opportunities. Is it right that I reject a lot of them? Because when you go higher in awareness, you realize that you have rejected a lot of them, and then you have some resentment. So, I realize that the so-called traveling with the flow doesn't mean that we have to accept every opportunity or advice that comes onto our path, but rather that we can say also no to opportunities and advices while maintaining our inner peace and allowance. Thus, even if we reject some opportunities or advices, opportunities, and even if we decide for apathy, we can still travel perfectly with the flow. Because if we are feeling good, there are no problems, okay? If you are growing, however, if you are growing much inner resistance, worries, and stress over the things that we rejected, over the opportunities we rejected, then it often means that we have rejected some favorable opportunities or advices and thereby avoid some potential futures. But also that we pushed some destined events a little bit into the future because not everything is destined. What is destined you will accept as advice, but we have also potential futures and we can also push destiny into a little bit into the future. If I can use some analogy here, imagine that you are flowing, swimming in a river, but at the bank where the flow is much slower, and people who are going faster in life, who are swimming faster, they go much with the flow much faster into the middle of this river where the flow is faster. And so, if you reject much opportunities, the people will bypass you. They are going to bypass you. And so you often ask yourself, where is everybody? Why is there so much boredom? Boredom is boring. Yes, because you have rejected some favorable opportunities. And we can also push some destined events a little bit into the future because not all destined events are very timed. It goes more about timing, not time. When you're ready to accept a destined opportunity, then you're going to accept it sooner or later. Okay, further, next dilemma. I have an opportunity for a new job. I also have a lot of theoretical knowledge about it, but I'm still in a dilemma whether I would be also practically good at this. What should I do? Well, for example, if you are educated in computer hardware theory, but you don't know if you would be practically good at it, practically, then you will never know how much mastery or inspiration there is for you if you don't make the decisive step forward. Here it is the common obstacle that the belief that you are not good enough or that you don't deserve something. And this belief for belief definition are causing you more than resistant fear. So, you simply have to reprogram yourself, follow your signpost, and make the decision. Choose something. Well, also realize that if you master a certain thing, then this doesn't mean that you'll do it with your inspiration. As for realize that the human being is generally quite universal, comprehensive, and all capable. Or in other words, in a funny way said, if you are a man and have a big stick down there, then this doesn't mean that you have to play in pornographic movies. Why I said this? Because we may have many, we can be very capable and do a lot of things. For example, I am quite universal. I can do a lot of many things. I know many things practical, but not these all things. There is no inspiration in all of this, just for certain things. And if you are in a certain job, it can come to that your let's say employer manipulate with you that you are good, so good, superb, and so you stay there, but you're not loving this job. So pay attention to this. You can be. I was very good in my work, but then it came to the point when my inspiration dropped, and so even health issues. I got it. I got it. Even health issues. About health issues and consciousness, I'm going to talk in the next lecture, I think. So for some things, there is inspiration already here before we are doing them. We have vision, and there is already inspiration. While for other things, we have to start doing something, and then the inspiration comes. So try do the things that you have visions in these samples. and then you'll discover something new. Further dilemma. The next dilemma, I am in a dilemma on whether to insist in my current job. In fact, I'm not even clear if there is any inspiration in it. Help me. Realize that even for perseverance is needed at least some inspiration or excitement, because if there is no inspiration or excitement, then the perseverance represents the additional suffering. We have this balance. No? If there is too much suffering, then at the same time there is too little inspiration, and this is not good. It is necessary to surrender and find inspiration and excitement elsewhere if there is too much suffering. Otherwise, you can get even ill, like me in my former job. So, therefore, especially the ones who have still a long way up to the retirement, ask yourself the following if you're in such a job that you know what to do. Do I have the first question? Do I have tiresome departures to job? Simple. The next, do I have frequent troubles with my coworkers? Next, do I often pick on a clock and wait impatiently to go home? Still the next, do I often carry job-related troubles home? Further, do I often find life meaningless? Still further, do I have a hobby at which time is actually flying? Further, do I often think about my retirement? I was thinking about my retirement many years ago, and pretty young. So, and last and most importantly, the last question and most important: do I have professional health issues that I cannot accept? Because my coworkers had some issues, health issues, but they weren't burdening with them because they love their job. They love their job. While I was burdening with very small concerns with my eyes and back, but I was worrying with very small concerns that after a year they became a big concerns. So, if you have already on a single question answered with yes, then there is already an open potential to a parallel world with a new or reorganized primary activity. So, here and there ask for these questions, take your time and ponder about whether it is the time to take the next step. As for realize too that already the thinking about a new job is more than a good indicator of real of something real on that subject. Yes, if you're thinking day by day to leave your job, then it's really something on that. And still, the last dilemma can be a very usual and like a kind of addiction. I like playing games of chance, but I'm already in a dilemma whether it has from inspiration or grew into addiction. Clarify me. Well, there are different types of addiction, such as the addiction to taste of food, to the addiction to alcohol, tobacco, drugs, gambling, sport, love partner, sex, etc. But any addiction can be attributed to the one and only cause, the overcompensation. What is the overcompensation? In simple words, the overcompensation is when someone is craving after such and such conditions to compensate the discontentment in him, to release his inner resistance toward life. And this occurs when we have completely saturated our unconscious with clutter, especially in the form of wantings imposed by today's modern society. So, am I really addicted to gambling? Well, very simple. If you are by playing having a positive attitude and fun, and if this fun and positivity also continuing after the loss of money, then it isn't any addiction but rather a true excitement and inspiration. Then this is for you, let's say, a part of your mission to learn something from that. But it can be for you it's just a challenge, a thing that you like, but for your partner it can be a problem. But this is her problem, her problem, not yours. For you it's just a challenge because you are loving that. Okay, so this is I think all for today. Yes, this is all for today. Have a nice day. Bye bye.